Hey everyone, it's your host Saeed with Messy Growth. Today's guest has done the full loop that most people in tech only dream about. I got Kris Palucki here with me, started as an analyst and went all the way up to the investment director at OTB Ventures, OFC's leading VCs, by the way. Invested in companies, sat on boards, told founders what to do. Then he left VC to actually become an operator. Spent 3 years as a product manager at Contractbook, a Google-backed contract management platform. Then said, screw it, I'll own my own company. Co-founded Owlright, an AI agent that writes documentation for SaaS products. And now he's back at OTB Ventures as an investment director. So he's seen pretty much it from every single angle there is: investor, operator, founder, back to investor. So let's talk about that today, about what he learned going through that loop. Kris, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. You know, we met at one of the growth meetups last year, towards the end of the year in Warsaw. And I really liked that conversation because you were talking a lot about, like, our conversation was a lot about VCs, the culture in Poland, how does that work, which really intrigued me. And I was like, well, I got to talk to Kris because there is so much I could learn from you. So, like, I guess my first question, considering your experience and the breadth of it, is you've done the full loop, the VC operator, founder, back to VC. That is very rare. What's the one sentence summary that you would put out of what you've learned going through that journey?
One sentence is gonna be tough.
You can take a paragraph.
It's it's been quite a journey, as you said. But a few things that I could see that mattered throughout the journey, like, regardless of what you do, whether you're an investor or, an operator or a founder, as you said. I feel in every single role that you do, like, soft skills are absolutely critical. Even if you're doing a technical role, like, you still like to push your ideas through, even to get through to your team, like, you need those soft skills to basically convince people that your idea is important one to explore at least. This is probably, and of course it matters all the time when you're a VC in every
Yeah.
single aspect of investor job.
Mhm.
And the other thing, the other most important thing I would say is to stay open-minded. Don't be, set in your ways too much. Like, be open to feedback, be open to market changing, and again, here, when it comes to being a product manager or a founder, you need to adjust your product all the time to changing consumer behaviors and habits. When it comes to being an investor, like, you have to listen to the market. You may have a thesis for a market, but the market changes so quickly, you have to adapt.
Mm. Do you think that if you look at it from a founder lens, that a lot of time founders struggle with those soft skills? Because in my experience, a lot of the founders are engineers and they're excellent at figuring out the technical side of things. But when it comes to enforcing their will of how they should see things, it just becomes a lot more difficult because they lack that ability to, like you said, get people on board.
Yeah, that's why it's really good to have more than, like, it's good to have a co-founder, because it's really difficult to get all of those skills in one person.
I think I think somebody told me recently over the summer is that if you don't have a co-founder, go and look for one. Because there are skills that you just are not going to possess and you don't have enough time or hours in the day in order to be able to accomplish whatever it is that you want to.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
co-founder really is the way to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I've heard, like, also some stories from my friends that are founders as well. Like, they've spent loads of times finding a co-founder, and then they spend another year splitting up with the co-founder because, they kind of tried to force it. So
yeah,
there are
yeah.
both sides to this coin.
I've never really been in that position in the sense that never had the privilege of like, starting my own thing. I get a co-founder and then, build it into something big. But I'm just curious, does that happen quite a lot where founders find a co-founder and it just doesn't work out, or is it more of a rare thing?
No, no, no. It happens quite often, especially if somebody tries to kind of force it. Because,
Mm.
like, when you have a co-founder, when you find this person that, like, you complement each other, this is amazing. This is, it's a good fit. Like, you've known each other for a while, you want to start a company together, is great. But if I've heard stories that You take money from a VC,
Yeah,
and they're saying you need a technical co-founder, and then you try to force it. This is where it can be messy.
yeah. I think it's one of those things, right, where people don't realize it, but it's again one of those building blocks of building companies. It's extremely difficult.
Yes.
Talking about difficult, I've been an IC, an individual contributor, and a VP, so I understand the differences between the two. But when I talk about your transition from VC to operator, what did you realize you didn't understand about operating that you thought you did as a VC?
I think that the thing that hit me most when I joined a company that I thought I understood is during scaling, I thought I knew the problems the companies were going through. Like, you have more people, you have more problems communicating the vision, you have more problems keeping the coherence in communication throughout the, like, quickly growing organization. I thought that was the biggest problem. But what I think actually is the biggest problem when you're scaling is that you have more and more people that have their own personal agenda.
What do you mean?
And well, you know, um, you have, like, you are going in one direction as a company, right? Like you are on the same boat
Sure.
and you're rowing in the same direction. But at the same time, people have their careers, right? And they want to grow like every single person. Like, they are doing what's the best for the company, but they're also doing what's the best for them.
Mm.
And having those interests aligned, oh boy, like when you're growing quickly, this is very difficult.
Yeah. How do you do that? Like, do you have a conversation with people? Do you incentivize them emotionally, financially? Like, how does that work?
I think it's super important. Like, when people talk about company culture, this is also something, like, to me, it was a buzzword when I was in a VC.
Mm.
Like, I started understanding it. Like, it took me a while to understand what people really mean by company culture. And I think this is it. Basically building an organization where people are incentivized to achieve for the whole company to achieve a success. This is a key. This is super difficult to achieve. I think when you can, ESOP, of course, is a great tool, but not everybody wants ESOP, right? So basically getting on board people that understand the value of ESOP, understand the value of growing, like, your stake, your financial position growing with the company. This is where things start really looking good.
Yeah.
Because then you're not just like being a salesperson yourself. You're not just rowing to close another client. You want to close a client and make sure that this is sustainable, that this client doesn't churn, and
Yeah, 100%. I think like what you're saying is hitting the nail on the head, which is you got to make sure that people are financially taken care of. You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about we're a family and all that nonsense, but we're not. I think somebody said it over at Netflix, that this is a sports team, right? We're here to perform, and you're going to stay here if you perform. And if you give somebody a skin in the game, so to speak, like you said with ESOP, well, then things start to change quite a lot, because now they're not thinking about closing the deal. They're thinking about, is it the right customer to close? Is it going to retain?
exactly,
Are they going to churn long term? So I think what you're
exactly.
saying is 100% right. And I wish more founders, more VCs were thinking like this, that, hey, we got to bring more people into the fold, as opposed to kicking them out.
It's not that easy also, like, because our ecosystem is still unfortunately not as mature,
Sure.
and not that many people got a lot of money from working in a VC backed company. And this is why many people still don't understand the value of ESOP, for example, which is a great tool. But,
Mm.
like, if you have to convince people to take ESOP, which is the most valuable thing you have, this is also not good.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's because the people fear it. They don't understand it, or they don't know that whether or not this is going to turn into a reality. I can tell
Exactly.
you so many people that I've spoken to that I'm always asking, hey, are you getting any equity or anything like that? Yeah, you know what? I'm not really worried about that. I just want my paycheck. Like, I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I don't know. I might not stay with this company long term. I was like, okay, but what if you stay for a year or two or 3 or 4? That 4-year vesting period with the 1-year cliff will start to become a little bit of money if this company, blows up. And
Plus, this is
if
a
it's a
wrong
good company,
mindset to begin with, right? Like, you
correct.
don't want in your company, you don't want to have people that are just like, yeah, yeah, it's just temporary.
Right.
It's
But how do you uncover that? You can't. You know what I mean? Especially even now with the remote work environment that we have, it's so hard. And I know you know that like managing people is probably one of the toughest jobs, regardless whether you're a CEO, operator, it doesn't really matter. Because you don't know what's going on in their head, right? Like it could be a stepping stone for me, for you, it could be like shit, I want to stay here forever.
Right.
Type deals. It's always that variable. Talking about that, and talking about that experiences with people, you were a board observer at Solnate, FinTech OS, Minute. Did observing operators make you a better operator yourself, or was it still completely different once you were kind of like in the seat?
It's completely different. Like the perspective that you have like eagle's eye view when you're an investor. Like it is really good at the same time because you do sit in the sandbox with the big kids, right? Like you are in a war room where all the most important decisions are being made.
Yeah, yeah,
But where you don't see like how it's being operationalized, how the strategic decisions, how they are being put into life. And when I was an individual contributor, it was completely opposite. I had very little impact on the strategic decisions because even though I would voice my observations and my strategic view of where the company is headed, etc. I would not be in the room where the decisions are made, right? So it's a very different positions to be at. Um, so yeah, you do observe, but it's very different.
fair enough. Fair enough. Or talk about your venture with Contractbook. It's a CLM platform, legal ops, contracts, workflows, that type of thing. We live in the world where the Lovables of the world are getting a lot of attention. It's sexy SaaS, so to speak. But CLM platforms, they're not, a sexy consumer product. How do you think about building product when it's B2B infrastructure that users don't necessarily love, but actually need?
Yeah, so we actually wanted to be loved, even though we
That's
were
a
B2B,
tagline for all the founders.
even though we were a B2B SaaS infrastructure. Uh, and we did design the product. So
Mm,
we wanted to give you this feeling of delight, like whenever you sign a contract, it's a relief kind of, but it's also like, it's your success. And we wanted you to feel it when you sign contract with contract, right? But at the same time, I hear you. Like when you build a product like this, I believe the most important thing is to be pragmatic and to cater to users' needs at the time when they need them. So for example, like you need to know your user so well that you're gonna suggest a specific feature 3 seconds before this person thinks they need them. You know what I
yes,
mean?
yeah. Yeah, I get you.
and,
Yeah,
and and when you have this feeling as a user, you're like, holy crap, they know me. They actually know what I need. I love this product. So you
yeah,
can actually get people fall in love with your product.
100%. Does idea really matter when it comes to building products, or is it about execution most of the time?
It is about execution most of the time, but something that I learned the hard way building Owlright is that uh, not all products, not all ideas go with all business models. I wanted to build a product-led growth company badly, and I had an idea, and I was sure that I can combine those two. Doesn't matter what the idea was, and I was
Hey,
very wrong because it turned out that the idea that I came up with, it basically, because of the market dynamics, it has to be sold sales led. And this is basically where I decided to close it.
when do you decide a company, or like in what situation a company should be focusing more on sales led growth as opposed to product led growth?
So you see, like in my case, by design, I wanted to do a product led growth company. So you can decide that this is the type of a company that you
Sure.
want to build, and then you have to decide very early. But if you're first, building a product, then you need to see what works best. Uh, I like, obviously, as you can see from our discussion so far, I like product led product like companies most. But there is nothing wrong with going sales led. You just have a different growth motion. You need to rely more on salespeople, warm introductions, probably some partnerships, because you're not going to be able to grow as quickly just by pure internal sales forces. So I think it's like dependent on where you start. You may feel like you have more edge in one or the other, and then you try to build the other leg on top of it, right? So I don't think any company should long term be one or the other. You should always be both once you start growing big enough.
Sure.
But you always I believe you just start where you feel you have a better skill set.
Yeah. Are you a firm believer in founders being the very first salespeople within the company, or are you kind of like the person, stick to your lane, let the expert come in and let them handle everything?
When you say, like, who is a salesperson here, right? Like, is it a person that closed the deal, or is it a person
Closes,
that
just
is
closes, yeah, selling contracts and just talking to prospects and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so that's two different things, right? Because talking to prospects is very different to me than closing a deal.
Okay.
Like, you need to, like, as a founder, you need to talk to your users, because you are your first product manager, and I don't think anybody can take it away. That's why, like, not many people hire product managers at a very early stage. I think it's a good idea. Like, as a founder, you have to be out there with your
Right.
users. You have to get all the feedback. You have to get all the positive and negative that you get from out there. But if you don't have a skill set of a salesperson, obviously bring somebody in to help you out with with structuring the sales process of actually closing it's two different things, right? Gathering feedback from the market,
Sure.
which is also what you do during sales, but then actually building a structure of a sales process.
Yeah. Two completely different skill sets.
Yes. But a very
need.
similar type of interaction you have
Sure.
with the outside world, right?
Yeah, it just depends what kind of outcome you want to get out of it, right? One is more transactional, the other one semi-transactional, but helps you build a product
Exactly.
better, so to speak. Talking about dual roles, you went from PM to growth PM. What's the difference? Like, is growth PM just make the numbers go up, or is there an actual craft to it?
Again, I'm gonna answer both. So it is about numbers growing, but if you are the first growth PM, as I was at Contractbook, or if you are a growth product leader in a company, you need to first decide what metrics you're gonna be growing, right? Because you have acquisition, you have onboarding, you have retention, you have monetization, right? Monetization is probably easiest to track.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but then you
Track,
attribute. Exactly. Then you have a problem of attribution, right?
Attribution, yeah.
So, when it comes to aha moment, when do you define that somebody is activated, like that your user is activated? So you need to, as a growth PM, you have to define all those things, and then you need to design your product so that you force your users to achieve those metrics that you want them to achieve, right? So yes, it is very much number related. It's much more number related than a regular PM, because being a regular PM, you may be responsible vaguely for some, optimizing some process, or for a certain part of your product or sub product or a feature, building a new one. But here everything is very much number related, but there is a craft to it. For example, thinking about different use cases that your product may provide. One may be catering best to individuals, while the other can be better suited for teams. And you think, all right, so my product is best monetized when there are already 3 people. Like, you have to look into the data, right, to check it out. But let's say that your product monetizes best when there are 3 people using it, but it's being acquired best if it's used for something completely else. So you acquire this one person for one use case, let's say in case of Contractbook, only signature, right? And then you need to engineer the product designed in a way that it can be used for multiple use cases. So you acquire this one person for one use case, let's say in case of Contractbook, only signature, right? And then you need to engineer the product designed in a way that it can be used for multiple use cases. So you acquire this one person for one use case, let's say in case of Contractbook, only signature, right? And then you need to so that this one person has a motivation to invite two others so they can start monetizing.
100%. That's a different craft in and of itself, yeah. Just to think of that in that way. Is there a particular trait you look for in a growth PM that you would go, yeah, that person would make a good growth person?
That's a tough one. I think it's a difficult combination. I would look for people that are good with data. So if somebody has some data science experience, that would be great. But also, well, ideally somebody with growth product management experience, But but data plus marketing, like a lot of marketers turned into great growth product managers.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have think of that way. Marketing going
Yeah.
into
A lot of
interesting.
marketers turn into really great growth product managers because
Interesting.
they already have this experience in acquisition, right? Like
Fair
acquisition
enough.
is usually where a handover happens between
Yeah.
a growth marketer and growth PM.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, talking about all of this stuff, Contractbook raised from Google Ventures. I've always been fascinated with Google, one of the big names. I am curious what it's like working at a Google-backed startup. Does that change how you operate, or is it just more of a logo on a pitch deck?
So mostly day to day, it's a logo on a pitch deck, but but big logos are helpful, like in many ways, in closing deals, in talking
Sure.
to next investors. So it's not like it's valuable. Um, a few very specific things Google actually helped with is I remember we had some engineers that would come from Google to us because I think they have some program like if somebody wants to try something new but doesn't want to leave Google, they actually
Oh,
offer
wow.
you, they offer you to work in portfolio companies of either of Google's funds. So I think we had two engineers coming to us from Google. And we had some workshops also. It was they had their own design expert, Marin Licina. It was a Silicon Valley designer, and he would just do workshops for us, how to run design
Nice.
sprints and how to do it properly.
Well, that must have been one hell of an experience.
That was super nice. Like Marin is a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Talking about startups in 2024, late August, you co-founded Owlright, an AI agent that learns SaaS products and writes customer-facing documentation. Why that problem? What itch were you scratching? I would love to be able to kind of like figure out what the thought process was behind that.
Yeah, so let me first tell you about a different product that we were thinking about starting half a year before. Owlright, like me, the same people. Basically, we sat down with my founders to be, and we thought it was just like a few months after ChatGPT was released, and
Nice.
and we were like, all right, how are we gonna how are we gonna use it, and what are we gonna build? And we're like, all right, let's build. How about there are a lot of tools like Wix, like Webflow that start implementing, the code generators for front end. And we're like, that's a bit limiting, right? Let's start something bigger. Why not, include backend in it as well and just generate whole products? And then we went out because we didn't have an engineer with us during that discussion. And we were like, all right, let's go out and ask some devs, some engineers what they think about it. And we asked them for feedback, and every engineer we talked to was like, nah, man, like LLMs are never gonna have enough context to generate full stack products. So we dropped it. And you see, fast forward a few months, we're like,
Oh
holy
my God.
fuck, that was the way to go.
Lovable. Hello.
So exactly.
Oh, wow.
But
That's
but just
interesting.
so this time we were like, all right, we have an idea. We're pushing forward like no matter what. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna try. We're not gonna just ask for feedback. So a big, like for any starting founder, a big warning sign. uh, just don't just ask for feedback. Test things out.
Quite often, I think I was hearing that from founder of Notion is like when he was going to people, people didn't really see the point of a Notion document. Or like, dude, you could just use Google document for that or
Yeah, yeah,
Microsoft
yeah.
Docs. But people were not, they couldn't see the future. And I understand from an engineering standpoint, they were like, ChatGPT can't do that. But what if it can't? What if you try to bend that towards your will, so to speak,
Exactly.
right? And then a lot of the ideas just die there because people feel like, oh yeah, that person is right. They probably are right.
And it's super important to find co-founders with this mindset, right? That you all are committed to making it work. Instead of looking for loopholes, instead of looking for things that are not gonna work, or thinking about Google is gonna build it soon, because this is another thing. Or in like, nowadays more OpenAI is gonna figure it out. Like
Yeah,
how are you gonna, if they do, how are you gonna
yeah,
compete with them? Because you can compete with them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think you can live with the fear of like, what if a bigger competitor comes in and builds that? You will build, if you build like that and operate from that lens, you're never going to be able to compete because it's a lot of a psychological game. Even if they do, you now have to figure out how to one up that and
Yeah.
how to make that better. And I think competition is great because it brings out ingenuity. Like you figure out like, hey, maybe this is our unique selling point, so to speak. So it kind of like helps you build a better product. So I'm all for it. Um, you know, I've spoken to a lot of founders. Most founders, they tell you starting a company teaches you things you can't learn any other way. A lot of people tell me that, hey, they're now unemployable because they have founded companies. Was there something you learned from Owlright that you didn't learn at Contractbook or OTB?
So one I already briefly touched upon, right? Like don't just assume something isn't gonna work. Don't assume something is too difficult. Don't assume that yeah, that somebody's gonna build it faster. Like try things out. Be very careful where you get feedback from. Like when you're a PM, you get feedback from your users. That's easy. When you don't have users, because you're lifting something from the floor, like who do you get feedback from? So this is it for sure. Um, Early days, I always knew it was super difficult, like for a pre-product market fit startup. Uh, it's even more difficult than I thought. So, so it's basically pure sales. If you don't have product market fit yet, you're knocking on 100 doors 100 times and you're getting one response. This takes a toll.
Yeah.
Um, I also didn't realize just how much risk you're taking on yourself as a founder, because you're committing everything. You have to be fully committed, both you and your founders. You have to be fully committed, and you have just one idea, one company, just
Yeah.
this one area that you're committing to, and literally a million things can go wrong. So it's a huge risk, especially if you take in outside money. It's also expectations of the people uh, that you took money from. Um, so yeah, all of those things, I guess.
Yeah. You're talking about raising money from outside from a VC. Would you recommend, let's just dial that back a little bit. In what scenarios would you say it's a good idea to go ahead and take VC money? And in which scenarios would you say it's a good idea to go ahead and bootstrap a company?
Well, if you can build a profitable business from day one, just build a bootstrap business, just like the guys from 11 Labs, right? They only took money because they wanted it for marketing,
Yeah. Right.
right? Because they
Yeah.
were profitable from day one. So
Yeah.
then it's a completely different discussion you're having. But in general, like you need venture capital. Like for plenty of businesses, like to kick it off, you need to take venture money. But I would say don't rush it, because especially like I had this case, I didn't raise myself. I had some inbound offers that I got, but I didn't end up taking any of those offers, um, because I didn't feel like I knew what I would do with this money. Like, I mean, yeah, I could pay myself, and then I would have money for like what, a year of my salary, and then I would probably, well, would have this responsibility of answering in
Yeah.
front of like the investor, right? Because this is what it is. So I would say at least verify your most important assumptions first. So in my case, it was verifying whether I can build the product, verifying whether I can find the market, whether I can find a niche where I would be the best, and whether I can sell it with product-led growth motion, because it was critical for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you're underlining is the most important thing, which is, sure, just because you can take money doesn't mean you should take money. You have to lay out the pros and cons, and most importantly, whether or not you can justify
Exactly.
taking that money and not become
And
Elizabeth Holmes of the world.
yeah. And it's it, yeah, especially like, because it is tempting to take the money, especially when it comes inbound. Like it is tempting to be like, all right, like so I'm gonna take this money, I'm gonna pay myself as a founder. But then it's not always a good idea, because then your other side of the brain tells you, listen, man, it's a huge responsibility. Like you're about to take responsibility for $1 million of your friend's money, because basically, like the first round, you're raising on your contacts, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, always right for the most part. Yeah, 100%. I want to dig deeper into that. You raise money yourself, as a founder. What is it like pitching VCs when you come from a VC background? Do you get special treatment, or it's always harder because they expect more from you now that you know the inside workings?
So as I said, I didn't end up raising. Uh, I didn't end up taking the money. I just had the inbound from all the people that knew me from my earlier days in VC, and so it is so much easier. But I don't think it is so much easier because I was in VC, because this experience was actually a bit of a drawback, right? Like it wasn't helping. It was like more my PM experience that mattered.
Sure.
But what helped was the people that I knew. So this is definitely an unfair advantage if you know personally the people that operate in the funds.
Yeah, 100%. You've left VC as someone who never operated. You came back as somebody who had been a growth PM, a PM, and a founder. Does that change how you evaluate investments now, or is it pretty much modus operandi remains the same throughout?
No, 100%. Everything changed. Absolutely everything. Like I understand founders better. I understand the problems, yeah, the problems they're facing, the pressure that's on them. I think both evaluate teams better, but I can also help the teams more, because I've seen quite a few structures, because I also did some consulting um, with a few companies. Because I've seen so many different structures, and I could see how some of those actually can reflect in, like, all people motivated, rowing in the same direction, and the others in just company internal politics exploding, and everybody just minding their own agenda. I believe I can, both based on the organizational chart, I can both assess and probably help make amends. So this is a huge difference between now and then. And also assessing go-to markets, having seen both how sales-led companies work and how product-led companies work, and not like both models are not equally suitable for all types of products.
Yeah.
So assessing this is also something I wouldn't have been able to do beforehand.
So basically, you're more valuable as a VC now, considering you've gone through that path and know how everything in the inside works.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had the good fortune of looking at a lot of pitch decks. When you look at a pitch deck now, is there something? I know a lot of people ask about the ChatGPT, this stuff. They ask about like what makes a good pitch deck. Is there a certain red flag or a green flag that just jumps out at you right away when you're looking at a pitch deck, considering the experience you've had with them?
Well, when somebody uses a lot of, like, a red flag, a typical red flag is when somebody uses a lot of catchphrases. Silicon Valley, right? So, and we've had it for a while now, like for the last 2 years when everything has been AI. Like
Oh
you
my
kind of
God.
have to, you kind of have to go past it because everybody uses that. So, all right, like you can't treat this as a completely red flag anymore. Um, but I must tell you, like I don't pay that much attention to pitch decks. Like especially now having operated as well, like I mostly focus on the founders, their experience, and if something like if some founder uh seems interesting, like when it comes to experience and a fit between experience and what they want to do moving forward, like I would just have a call. I would have a 30-minute call, and I would try to assess whether this person is gonna uh, survive being a founder and keep on going. Like pick themselves up for the 10th time after they fall for the 10th time.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
different skill set.
yeah. Uh, So I would rather have a 30-minute call than obsess over a pitch deck.
Fair enough. If you're talking to a PM at a Series A company right now who's thinking, should I start my own thing? A lot of folks are now that I think that the barrier to entry to building your own thing is lower than it's ever been in the history. What do you tell them? What's the decision framework?
Do it. Just do it. You're gonna like Shia LaBeouf said, do it.
I'll try to port that into this video.
No, you'll just regret it if you don't. You're as a PM, you're better positioned to succeed than anybody else in the market. You may still not succeed, but the experience that you get in the process, this is absolutely invaluable. Like as you can see, like my company wasn't absurdly successful, but still, I would never substitute this experience with anything else.
Yeah, you can't learn that any other way, right? You
No.
just have to go through that journey
And you learn
yourself.
both about the market, about the relationships you build with your co-founders, and you learn about yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 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 yeah. You cannot discount that at all.
No,
Is
absolutely.
one of those things. 100%. And of course, don't look for feedback and then just back down. Build it because you may not know you probably have the next best idea for the most part.
Exactly. And when you look for feedback from the doers. Don't look for feedback from uh, people, like especially like I've heard this so many times in Poland, like that we have a lot of people that are gonna find a million reasons why your startup is gonna fail.
Of
You gotta
course.
look for feedback from the people that are actually that can possibly help you, right?
Yeah.
So people that are finding solutions to the problems and not just making up new problems.
Yeah. We are a type of country, we just like to look at problems instead of solutions. We like nagging about things. So I understand where they come from. Pessimism is part of our bloodstream. I do want to ask you something, which is one piece of advice, if you kind of like flip the board a little bit for PMs that are trying to break into VC. Is there something you would say to them?
So that's not exactly what I did, right? Because I was a VC, then I
Sure.
was a PM, and then I returned to
If you
VC. So
switch
it
it,
was
yeah.
slightly easier for me
Oh, 100%, I bet.
than for somebody who's begun their career in as a PM. Uh, but I would say it's like that for any career that wants to convert to a VC. Uh, I would say that the most important thing is to know interesting people that might be building interesting companies. So get to know interesting founders. Build your network of interesting founders. If you
How do you
can,
do that? LinkedIn?
that can work as well, but you need to find events that they go to. You can look at certain, like quite a lot of things are happening at the universities nowadays, even in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So some nice like especially if you look at there's this company. Basically, there are quite a few companies from University of Munich, I think, that were spun off recently. So build your network around, but it's not just, you can't just go there and talk to just anyone. You have to look for interesting people that want to commercialize whatever they're building or researching, right? So yeah, so I would say that's one thing. The other thing, if you can afford it, it helps very much to do some angel investments, because then not only you sell yourself and you say about how many founders you know and stuff like that, but you actually also have it on paper, right? Like you not only exactly, and not only you know these people, but you actually had access to those deals when they were happening. So and this is the best proof that you can get when you want to get into VC from any profession.
I think you're right about in-person meetings, though. They perform many times better than just online reach out. I think a lot of folks are feeling that fatigue, considering a lot of that is just cold reach out and people are frustrated with it.
Yes.
I think in-person meetings now more than ever are definitely going to take the stage. Last question before I head into the rapid fire round, Kris. 2026, back at OTB, where do you think you'll be in 2030? Back operating, still VC, something else you're going to be doing?
I think I'm here to stay. It was, when I
No more.
when I started as a VC, like it was my first role, right? But right now I'm coming back, so it's an informed decision. But if you asked me 5 years ago if I would still be a PM, I would probably have told you so. So you never know by the end of the day. But
you never.
I'm planning to stay.
Well, if you get another idea like Lovable, please don't leave it on the table. My DMs are always open. Kris has been fantastic.
I'll remember that.
So rapid fire round, very quick questions, very quick answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
Do it.
Not overthink. Do it. Perfect. Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to?
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you the name of the company, but you should take a look at this startup.
This startup. There's plenty of them out there.
No, I mean, like, there was one very specific time when somebody told me I should take a deep look at this company, and I was like, doesn't sound very interesting.
Oh, there you go, right? It turned out to be really interesting. I think it's one of those things, I think Henry Ford said that, like, if you ask somebody 70 years ago, 80 years ago, before the automobiles, like, would you want an automobile? They would just say, no, we want a faster horse type thing. Right? Yeah. Like, it's just, you cannot know what you do not know type thing.
Exactly.
What would you tell your younger self, say 7 to 10 years ago?
Those are difficult questions. Always be on the lookout for the opportunities. You never know when opportunity can emerge, and don't be lazy. Always look what's under the rock.
That's pretty solid advice. Perfect. I mean, that's how you find hidden gems, I guess.
Exactly.
Is there an ongoing challenge in your current work that keeps you up at night?
Yeah. The market dynamics right now is that 2% of companies gather 98% of money. So definitely, like, and so the 2% of companies, they choose their investors. Like, investors don't choose the best companies, right? The companies choose the investors. So yes, getting through to those best deals is absolutely this kind of challenge.
What a privileged position to be in, right? Like, where folks, like you said, inbound is coming in, you get to decide, no.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, for the 98% of the companies, it's the other way around. Like, basically no money flows there. So they're
scrounging for
exactly, kill for funding.
100%. Your favorite restaurant, meal, or spot in Poland?
Favorite meal would be, I'm gonna go with lasagna.
Right on. Is there a good place for it here?
No, when we lived in Rome, like, we spent there winter 2 years ago, like, we would have lasagna once a week.
There you go. I mean, you're pretty much going to the heart of the cuisine, so naturally.
Exactly.
Absolutely. one tool or software you swear by and cannot live without?
Well, it's probably gonna be ChatGPT nowadays.
But damn, everybody says that. Everybody says
Yeah.
that. We're so reliant on it. It is so good though. Like
It
it
is
is
good.
scary good. If you just dump, I think I was dumping my spreadsheets in it, and it will do the whole analysis of everything else. This is scary good. How good it is.
And to me, it's mostly because it automates all the things that I don't like.
Exactly that.
My
The time
job,
suck, so
right?
to speak. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's not even that it saves time. It saves time spent on boring and tedious tasks that I don't like.
Just to give you an example, I had a spreadsheet where there was a column where the name and the email of the people were in one, and I wanted it separated. Thinking about 20 seconds, it created a new column and did it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is insane, man. Like, it's like $20 or something a month, and the amount of time it saves is astonishing. Great job. Whatever water supplies we were wasting getting this going, let's just keep wasting it. This is really helpful for the most part. Kris, it's been fantastic. I love having a chat with you. It was great. Learned quite a lot. I made a ton of notes. So this is extremely helpful and useful. Where can listeners find you?
It's probably easiest to reach me via LinkedIn. Kris Palucki. You just type me a direct message, and I'll be happy to have a chat.
Awesome. Is there an upcoming project launch, talk, or an event that you're excited about?
Not off the top of my head, to be honest.
No worries.
I'm meeting a lot of people, but you don't want to share all your deal flow.
No, please don't. But hopefully we're going to be on the lookout for any details that come around. I appreciate you, Kris. Thank you so much for coming on. Folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Take care.